Hi everyone, Doc Phipps with another car tip for you. Today we're going to be removing and replacing a leaky water pump on this 2013 Transit Connect. Most videos show you how to remove a water pump from these engines. All of them though require removal of the engine mount, which is right here. In this video I'm going to show you how to remove the water pump without removing the engine mount. It is possible to do. It's a little tricky, but I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. The basic tools you're going to need: 10mm socket wrench, 8mm socket wrench, 10mm ratchet, a little crowbar. I have a flat crowbar like that, came very handy. You're going to need that too, or something similar, PV blaster or some other penetrating oil, and that's about it. First thing, you're going to have to drain the coolant as best as you can. I'll show you how to do it in a second. And then unbolt and remove engine coolant reservoir. You have to undo this 10mm screw here. So once it's empty, you just get it out of the way. Okay, so this is how you drain coolant. There's a little drain plug on the radiator, and if you remove it just a little bit, just enough so it's dripping nicely, then you should be able to remove all the coolant. Don't remove the whole plug or the whole coolant. Gonna splash under pressure everywhere. Just crack it a little bit, put the pan underneath as high as possible, and then just let it drain little by little. To remove the serpentine belt, the belt tensioner is right here, and just push it down like that. Push it down this way, and that releases the belt. So this is what the pump looks like. The way it sits in the engine is with 3, 1, 2, and 3 8mm bolts. This impeller here that goes inside the engine, and on the outside the serpentine belt drives the pulley, and this is the pulley. It just attaches with 3 10mm bolts. Okay, so I'm gonna try to remove the water pump without removing the engine mount. There are other videos that show how to replace the water pumps. I don't want to repeat that, but all of them remove the engine mount before dealing with the pump. I'm gonna see if it's possible to do it without removing the engine mount, which cut a lot of time and also a bit of a pain in the butt to remove it, support the engine, reinstall it, and all these kind of things. As you can see, I built a little contraption here so this pulley doesn't move, and then I just took a 10mm ratchet wrench and I put it on this one. I just cracked it loose. That's my contraption. It's just a 10mm socket with a little extension. It's wedged in between the engine mount bolt and the engine mount itself, and this locks pulley in place, and I'm gonna take a crack at the next bolt. Yeah, have to make sure to scrape your knuckles when you do this. So this is the last one. Let's see if we can get that pulley out of there, if that's even doable. Well, I guess it is. There we go. Set that aside. Okay, and here's our water pump. 3 bolts. There's one here, one there, and one we have to see from under the car. Yeah, so that's the view under the car. You clearly see it's leaking, obviously, and you can see that third bolt right there. I already sprayed them a little bit with penetrating oil. Now we're gonna see if we can crack them open. All right, so that's the first one. So you can just crack it open. Yeah, nice and easy. Second one right there. Yep. Then we get the third one under the car. There it is. And it's really hard to get a camera in there, but you get the picture. The 3 bolts are removed. The pump is a little stubborn, it's baked in. The best way is to gently give it a, yep, you just kind of loosen it up a little bit. You can see it's starting to budge. You don't want to put too much pressure on that pulley here, not to damage it. It's moving a little bit. Now we're just gonna patiently try to wiggle it out. There it is. Voila. It's a beautiful sight. You have to have a pan underneath to capture all of the coolant that's spilling out, and it's gonna come out pretty good. Okay, now the question is there enough clearance to actually get it out? Is there any position that this thing can be put in where it can come out here through the top? Oh, wait a minute. We got it out now. That's okay. There we go. So engine mount still in place, and we have the water pump removed. Okay, let's take a look at this housing here. It's actually not in a bad shape, so I'm gonna just clean it up a little bit and put the new one in. I got the original Ford part, a little bit more expensive. At the Ford dealer, you can get this for about $100. I was lucky to get it on Amazon for about $50. You can see this is very high quality, so I'm confident putting this in a car. You can buy the cheapest ones on the internet for somewhere around $20, maybe $30, and they kind of look similar to this, but they usually fail pretty quickly. The reason I want to get a little bit more expensive one is because it's really not worth it to save a little bit of money and then have to redo this labor just a couple of months when the new pump starts leaking. So this one will hold up for, the 50, maybe 100,000 miles. I already inspected the inside of this housing to make sure it's not corroded. If you have a camera, sneak it in there and take a picture of it, take a look and inspect it. Put some of this coolant to lubricate this new O-ring. Spread around a little bit, not too much. That's good enough. Now we're gonna try to finagle it in there. Hopefully it will go in the same way that the other one came out. Just kind of have to find the right way, and there it is. The gravity helps a little bit. Okay, let's see how our holes line up. Yeah, they line up pretty good. Make sure the holes are aligned and just push it in place like so. Well, these bolts look in excellent shape, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of anti-seize. I see a little bit corrosion here. What I'm using is Permatex 81343. That's the best one, all purpose. It's not just anti-seize, but it's also a lubricant, which helps to catch these initial couple of threads there. Once you get these bolts by hand, as far as possible, just use a socket wrench to retighten it a little bit more. Now make sure that you go cross pattern. The top one, the left one, then the right one, the top, the left, the right, little by little. So you're pushing the pump evenly in with your bolts. You can definitely feel the pump is moving into the housing when you do this a few threads at a time. Don't forget to go under the car and do the third bolt. You can see a gap. Despite my best efforts, you can see there is a gap right there. So that bolt is not in evenly as the other one. So what I'm going to do is undo the other ones a little bit, push this one in and just try to make it nice and even. Okay, let's take a look. Yep, we're closing the gap. You just have to have patience. Okay, now that everything is torqued and the pump is spinning very comfortably, we're going to install the pulley. A reverse of what we did before. I'm going to inspect that pulley. There's a little bit of gunk here, so I'm just going to clean it up real quick, and then we're going to bolt it on. Make sure there is no residual grease on it, otherwise the belt is going to be spinning. So you have to kind of put it down under the power steering pulley, and then it just slips on easy. So I got that first bolt on there. A little bit of patience, and it goes in by hand. Once the first one is in, the other two are easy to find. Well, there's absolutely no way to get a torque wrench in there. So I'm just going to tie them nice and tight, as tight as I can with my little 10mm handy dandy. One thing, remember, I was able to crack them open with this wrench. So if I tie it as tight as I can with it, I think that's enough torque. 18 foot-pounds is really not that much. So I think I should be able to do it. So I just do it as hard as I can with this little wrench. Everything is nice and tight. Next step is to reinstall the serpentine belt, which is right here. Should see a diagram on the screen right now, so I'm just going to follow that. So we're going to reinstall reservoir, slips on top of this tab here, and then attaches with 10mm. Okay, that's it. This is our 10mm. Just have to catch it. Power steering return hose. Put that back in the clamp where it belongs. Okay, let's fill this reservoir. So I recycle the coolant. It was nice and clean, so I'm going to keep it and reuse it. Okay, so we're going to start it up and keep our fingers crossed. Okay, well, let's start it up. See our pump right there. It's pumping. I don't see any leaks. Nice and quiet. Everything looks good. I'm going to check on these three bolts here. I want to make sure that they're still sitting nice and tight after some of the vibration, just to be double sure. Oh yeah, they're nice and snug. Okay, perfect. We have a success. Well, thank you very much for watching and for being patient. I hope you find this video useful. This is Doc Phipps signing off.